Republican leaders to hear their concerns about the stimulus bill. Right now, we want to bring in two GOP lawmakers who say the current plan is not the answer to the economic crisis. Representatives Zach Wamp and Marsha Blackburn of Tennessee with us from Capitol Hill and our D.C. Bureau. Representatives, thank you both for being with us.
Good to be with you.
Representative Blackburn, let me start with you. You have little confidence this stimulus bill will actually create jobs. And in fairness, you're not the only one to express that view, but I have to ask you, why are you pessimistic about the ability of this bill to stimulate the economy and create jobs?
Well, I am pessimistic about this bill to create jobs, and there are some specific reasons. Number one, let's all agree that the best economic stimulus there is a job.
Yeah.
And this bill is short on the stimulus that is needed to create that. You know, Tony, when you break out, according to the CBO, when you break out this bill, you only have $93 billion that would be spent in '09. Now, stimulus money is to be spent immediately, and what you have is $825 billion of programmatic money, only $93 billion of which would even be slated to be spent this year, and another $225 billion in 2010. And
yeah.
I tell you, most of the people that I talk to, most of the economists that I talk to say you've got to be acting on the front end. We know that tax reductions, tax abatements, tax incentives flow more quickly, leaving money with all of those taxpayers so that it's there on Main Street. That is the way to have an immediate impact. It impacts our small businesses. When you impact them, that is where you get your jobs growth, and that's what we need to see happen.
Okay, Representative Wamp, let me come to you on this one, and then Representative Blackburn, same question for you. So clearly we need spending in this economy, correct? Can we agree on that?
We need investment, really, more than spending, and that really is what the problem is. At the local level, you see governments, and at the state level, cutting their budgets to get through. The family budget at home is being cut to get through hard times, yet in Washington, we're spending more money than you can even imagine, and about 10% of it, as Marcia says, is going to be productive. The transportation and energy investments will create jobs. A lot of this is just a transfer of wealth. And Japan proves that you can't borrow your way out of debt. You can't spend your way into prosperity. We're in a real mess right now with too much government, and nobody's talking about streamlining and getting through a tough time. We're just spending more money.
There you go. Representative Wamp, do you have a problem with some of the spending creating jobs in the so-called out years?
Well, that's what is not a stimulus. Don't call it a stimulus if it's just long-term type investments. That's just more debt that we're not going to pay back. That actually will prolong the economic downturn instead of getting it over with.
Well, Representative Blackburn agrees that you'll get some spending in the initially, but that there is also some job creation possible in the out years. Are you okay with that mix?
Well, but that's the problem with the government is that up here they use this as an excuse to spend tons of money that we'll never repay.
Okay. Representative Blackburn, I think I heard you wanting to jump in.
Yes, I think what we have to look at is this. Right now, our national debt is at $10.7 trillion. It hit that on January 3rd of this year. Right now, our deficit for this year is over $1 trillion. And Tony, Plan A, all that spending in '08 totaled over $1 trillion. The Fed has committed $2 trillion to Plan A. Plan B is President Obama's plan. Now, the question we have to ask is if you add this additional $1 trillion to this year's deficit, does that leave room for a Plan C? We know that our tax reductions work. We know that you can do this without spending and maxing out the federal credit card, which is exactly what is going to happen with Plan B.
What if the tax reductions, say, to individuals don't work? What if people take whatever the tax break is, however it's constructed, and they don't spend it? What if they save? Aren't we in a world of hurt if you front load this, if you change the percentages on this so that you're more evenly split with tax cuts and spending, and people don't spend what you give them in a tax cut? Aren't we in a world of hurt?
But you have to look at the value that comes from leaving that money with the taxpayer, allowing the taxpayer to decide how they're going to utilize those resources. And when you lower marginal rates, when you do away with cap gains taxes for small businesses, when you rebate all of that sales tax that individuals spend every year, everybody in this country, allow them to deduct that line 5B from their 1040 form. What you do is to empower that consumer. Now, we know in free markets and in capitalistic markets and that the way you work your way through this is to allow those systems to do what they're supposed to do, which is work. And Tony, you know and I know and every economist will tell you it will do that. What you do with a stimulus is short-term to give that little jump start.
Gotcha.
And when you're talking about 10 years of spending and adding trillions of dollars to this expenditure on behalf of the government, my goodness gracious, that is not a stimulus. That is
Representative
going
Blackburn,
in
you
and
were
changing.
filibustering your colleague.
Well, I will stop and let him talk.
Okay. Representative Wamp, jump in here.
Tony, it needs to be directed at entrepreneurship, small business, investment, not necessarily all this government growth. We don't need more government. We need to stimulate small business and entrepreneurship again. That's where you're going to create jobs. I worry about all this debt even being sold on the world market. China and Japan have been buying all of our debt. That's not a good trend. They're not even in good enough shape to buy $2 trillion worth of debt. As Marcia points out, this is unbelievable debt here. The world market may not even buy it. Then what do we do?
No one seems to believe. I'm talking about economists from the right, from the left, believe that you can't spend. You have to spend to get us out of this, and government spending has to be a huge component of this. So, in the bottom line on this, in your best judgment, what are you going to do with the stimulus package? How are you going to vote as it stands today?
Well, the truth is, Tony, we're going to vote no, but they've now got the votes to do basically whatever they want to, and so they're going to slam dunk this, and we're going to go much further in debt. Republicans blew it on spending, but now Democrats are like, they're on steroids with spending, and the debt and the deficit is a huge long-term problem. It's going to make the recession longer. We're going to vote no.
Representative Blackburn, Representative Wamp, thank you for your time. We appreciate it.
Good to be with you.
Yeah,
Thanks.
that was fun. Thank you. The bailout, the handouts, and the stimulus packages. CNN's Lou Dobbs pulls them apart line by line to separate the pork from what might